maybe it's back, or welcome. Maybe it's two. The Louie Bellina Show here on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. And it is the Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, and community. Now, everybody, hold on. This is like a pre-warning. Normally, Wednesdays at noon, Tony Catalina, gig 'em 247. But there's this thing, work. He actually covers Aggie football. He covers everything, Aggie athletics, to be fair. But when they're in their fall camp schedule, it is the most random thing in the history of mankind. They practice at 8:45 p.m. They practice at 7:45 a.m. They practice at 2:21:19. So tomorrow, no, Wednesday rather, there's a practice and media stuff. So he couldn't be here. And then he's like, and if I don't get my time, I'm out. And I'm like, whoa, what are we getting all pissed about? So Tony Catalina, now inside the Charles Schwab studio. How's your world?
It's busy, but you kind of told the story there, but it's great. Everything's great.
Oh, you're busy, but isn't that why we do it? Isn't it part of the rush?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be back. Like, we had talked about it the last time we spoke. You know, the listicle season's over, the kind of wondering, the pandering. Like, we're getting real football to talk about. We're getting real things to dissect. So as far as I'm concerned, this type of busy is the exact type of busy I want to be.
So there's a question, and I just popped it out there kind of at the end of hour one, and I want to hit you with it.
Sure.
What is the number one concern? And you know, normally the one can cause consternation. So what's like your top three, no order, concerns standing between Aggie football and a return to the CFP?
Great question. I think the first...
Thank you.
If you do so, say so yourself.
You said so. I had nothing to do with the saying. For
me, I think the easiest thing, first off, is just the 9-game schedule in the SEC, right? I think it goes for everybody. It's kind of universal in that situation. But, you know, adding a 9th game, making things a little bit more tougher on the schedule is undeniably something that they're going to have to weather. And we had the conversation about just how daunting last year's schedule didn't end up being, and maybe that's something that happens this year where all these games we're talking about in the preseason aren't as hard as people, you know, present them to be. But on the surface, you look at the schedule and say, right off the bat, things are tougher. The second thing for me is just the mounting expectations. I think we had talked about just how year 3 under Elko is super important. He even echoed the sentiment that he thinks this is going to be the hardest year yet, because when you go to the college football playoff, you come back, you say, okay, what do we do next? How do we elevate and how do we go forward? Nothing about this season is going to be easy for him, so they want to get back and they want to be, 10 wins, 11 wins. They want to be in the CFP conversation again. So I think the mounting expectations, and then just, I'll give you one on the team. You see Damian Sanford working back. I think just personnel-wise, when you look at it, there's some challenges, right? You got to figure out, what does the linebacker room look like if Damian Sanford isn't fully healthy? What does this pass rush look like without Cassius Howe? Where are some of these different places? We've heard some really good things about some really deep position groups, but some of those other spots, what do those look like? So it's personnel retention, it's finding new pieces. So those are kind of the three things that wrap up the toughest situation for me.
Number one, O-line.
Okay.
For me.
Sure.
You replace 4 offensive linemen. I know they went and got starting O-linemen. I love Adam Cushing, walks on water in my book. It's football. You replace offensive linemen, and was it 3-4 NFL? All 4, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's acknowledge the reality of that.
Right.
Number 2, the entire front 7 on the defense. And 1 and 2 are both line of scrimmage things in a line of scrimmage league.
Sure.
Number 3, 2 new starting coordinators. I am very cognizant of what they have in place to address all 3 concerns. But all 3 concerns are probably the worst 3 areas that have concerns entering a season.
Sure.
New changeover. And I know they have options. I know what Elko did to address it. But it has to be in play.
Sure.
Now, let's throw in your concerns. It's a 9-game schedule, which every SEC team is going to have to deal with. There are quite a few things of concern standing between A&M and a return to the CFP.
Sure. No, it's tough. And to your point about, the 3 areas, those are things you can't really get answers to until the things get live, right?
Exactly.
You can't figure it out. I think Holman Wiggins is going to be good, and they talk about how this offense is, everyone's enjoying it, and it's got a lot of similarities to last year, so there's a comfortability there. But we won't know until it's live, and it's week 1, week 2, week 3. And so to that point, I hear that. I think I have a little bit more belief in the fact that this defense is going to be strong because it's still Elko led, and Lyle Hemphill is very familiar with what Elko's looking for. So however that shakes out, I feel comfortable that they're going to be fine. But you're right about the offensive line. That's something that's just like, how are you going to figure out what 4 new guys mesh together? And, we go out to these practices, and you see them looking different variations of different guys going out there. They're trying to figure it out. And I think there is a real important situation in hand where I think ultimately all health being, equal and everyone's healthy and everyone's ready and available, they're going to have to lock in who they think is the 5 and give them some cohesion. Right? You got to find, okay, it's cool. We gave this guy a shot. This guy's getting a shot. We're rotating spots. Great. Some point, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before week 1, they got to put those 5 together and they got to really work and be like, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm with you. I'm a little bit more bullish on Anto Saka, TJ Searcy, Marco Jones, those guys taking steps and kind of elevating. But you're right. If you're sitting here, the offensive line is a definite marker for it to watch.
I'm bullish on every player you said.
Yeah.
But if there's a weakness, if the linebacking unit doesn't come together, it negates.
Sure.
You can't have in the SEC a weakness on any level of the field, or that's will just exploit you to death.
Sure. And it's interesting because when I look at when you were talking, I was thinking about how we felt last year. I think a lot of people were intrigued by what Des Ricks might be. So people were really nervous about what the pass defense would look like, right? And so we didn't know if Des Ricks and Julio Humphrey was going to win a job. It turned out it wasn't Julio Humphrey. Des Ricks elevated his game, and now all of a sudden the secondary was way better in year 2, and now year 3 we're talking about this might be the deepest secondary they've ever had. So now if you look at it and you flesh out this year, what's it look like? Is Noah McHale step up at linebacker? Jordan Lockhart take another step? Is Ray Coney everything he was at Tulsa here? Damian Sanford almost feels like a surprise, like a Christmas morning present. The fact that he's out there practicing and he's getting reps, and a lot of people penciled him as somebody like maybe wouldn't come back till mid-season.
I had questions at linebacker before Sanford got injured.
Exactly.
Because they have no depth behind the 2 starters, and you do have to see if Coney can translate to the SEC. And I'm not saying he's not, but that's another one of those that we're not going to know until, 4, 5, 6 games?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Right?
Yeah, I think we'll figure out who this team is. And, I mean, first off, not to minimize anybody beforehand, Arizona State in week 2 will be tough. Kentucky will obviously be a challenge. But you're going to find out what the squad is in Death Valley in week 4, right? Like the 3rd week of September or the final week of September, when you go and play LSU and you go and play, Lane Kiffin, we'll know what the squad is. And so I think that is when either the hype is going to raise or the hype is going to get diminished a little bit, because how they come out of that week, I think, will tell us a lot.
And then I think it gives you your first course correction, too. Mm-hmm. You still have to work it all up towards week 11, OU, one of the top 5 defenses in the country, and then, of course, Texas, who will be a top 5 team in the country. Like, everything can be great, but it all will lead up to your last 2 games of the year.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And to even flesh it out even bigger than that, there's 8 games here that they can't stumble on, right? Like, they have to win these 8 games, because when it comes to these 4 pivot ones, and we talk about Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, and LSU, those are the swing games. If you can come out of there 2-2, 3-1,
CFP.
You're in business.
CFP.
You're in business. But if you drop a South Carolina, if you drop a Kentucky, you lose in Arizona State, now you're in a spot where you got to go 3-1, you got to go 4-0, and the resume becomes a lot tougher to defend if you're losing those games and losing those early games. So you're right. You can really tighten it up to those final 2, but I'd say there's 4 that when you sit here and say, what is this season all about, it's going to come down to those 4 games.
Yep, and I like the way you summed it up. There's an 8-0 with no exception to it, because then you got to try and 2-2 the other ones.
Right, have to. Like let's say you go 7-5. Oh, you get 7-1. Right now, you don't have the same wiggle room with those final 4. You have to go and beat Alabama. You have to beat Oklahoma.
LSU, Texas. 3-1 on that stretch.
Exactly.
And 3 of those are road games.
Exactly.
Come on.
And one of them's in the first month. So if you lose to LSU, let's say you lose to LSU week 4 and you're 3-1. Now you know those final 3 games. The pressure's even more on that, even more so.
I asked about this, and the whole inspiration of why did I ask that today was more Marcel Reed talk, where, anyway, for you, it sounds like you don't have Marcel Reed in your top 5. I don't have Marcel Reed in my top 5.
Yeah.
And that's one of the funny things about the volume of conversation around. Quarterback's always going to have the spotlight.
Sure.
I get it. We live in a QB-driven world, but it fascinates me how much spotlight he gets for hand-wringing consternation and concern. But he's not in the top 5 reasons that would stand in the way of A&M getting back to the CFP.
No, he's not. And to me, maybe I have the benefit of maybe some of the listeners who don't, where I've gone out there and I've seen him practice, right? I've seen
Practice.
Practice. We're talking about practice, man. But so from the spring to now, I've been able this fall period, 2 partial practices and a full one. I see a kid that gets it. I see a kid who's mature, a quarterback who's a captain, who, when you speak to everybody. Now, a lot of this you could be chalked up as lip service, right? You could. But when you have these genuine answers from these people who are go out of their way to say, Marcel looks like this, he looks comfortable, he looks calm.
Until there's pressure applied to him, which there's zero in practice.
Fair.
I don't know what it means. For me.
That's fine.
For me.
No, it's totally fine. I totally agree. The things that I'm speaking to, and maybe I should be more clear in that, is the mechanics look more sound. He looks stronger. He looks more comfortable. There are things that he's making smarter decisions. And you're right. When the bullets get flying, you find a way to go back to what's comfortable, and you take a step back.
That's when you find out what's natural. That's when you find out what's real. Because then you're going to, I say revert back. No. That's when he's going to do what's normal.
Right.
And if these new mechanics are normal, that's what he'll do.
And the good thing about everything I've talked to and people that I've spoken to about it is there seems to be a real push to get him to be more naturally himself. Last year it felt like, it's like, damn, why didn't you take off, right? You could have got 12 there and slid. Why didn't you find a way to get in space? Because on the run, you're going to find a guy open.
Throw on time.
That's
Just throw on time.
But so... Yes, the conversation is going to be about, can he be on schedule, right? Can he make the throws in the pocket on schedule? And that mechanically looks better to me personally, as somebody who's studied quarterbacks my whole life. He looks better mechanically to me.
I want someone to ask Elko, Holman, Wiggins, how does a quarterback get better against his own defense?
It's that, and I'm glad you asked that, because they've given the answers to those questions indirectly. It's the comfortability, it's the knowledge, it's the understanding. Because a lot of the stuff with the zone coverage first becomes pre-snap identifying it, right? You identify the snap. You identify what coverage is in front of you, whether that's by emotion, that's your trigger point, or you're kind of keying somebody in the secondary. And so that's the stuff that you ID. But once the field breaks out and they roll into a cover 3 or a cover 2 and there's some type of cloud coverage there, that's the comfortability. He's seen it now, right? And can he retain it? Did he retain it? And everything we talk about is there seems to be a guy who feels more comfortable in what he's going through, his progressions-wise, what he's seeing on the field. It's not so fast. It's not so sped up. And to your point a minute or two ago, we got to see it on Saturdays in the fall. But everything you hear is that this is a quarterback who understands what he's seeing better than he did at any point last year.
Couple of text messages?
Yes, of course.
You're in? Jim, text. Anybody can text me. But always emphasize you could text any guest. I don't know if Tony's a guest anymore. He's kind of like just a dude that hangs out.
A regular.
Here. Yeah, I mean, he's one of us. You could text 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. You can light up the inbox, hit send. Jim said his number 1 is O coordinator. Very specific. I put both at number 3. I just said both because both are going to be in the first time. Like you said, too, D should be the least concerned because Elk will be hanging out a lot there. But so Jim said his number 1 is O coordinator.
I think it's fair. I think that's been a talking point all off season. We won't know what Holman Wiggins is until we see what he is. There's just no way around it. I can feel comfortable about it. The players can say and speak glowingly, but we got to see it.
Jim in Round Rock texted and said, number 1 is running back injuries based on the last 2 years. Difference between quarterback running when he wants to and when he has to, in which case more of the D is focused on stopping him.
Sure. I mean, to the first part with the running backs, I think a lot of people coming into the year were like, hey, what is Ruben Owens' ceiling? What's the people behind him look like? And what's that going to shake out? From a few practices, what I've seen, I'm really bullish on Jamari Morrow. I think KJ Edwards is going to have an instant impact. That doesn't even count for Carson Baker. It doesn't count for Tiger Ryden. They have guys. It's going to be a different cast of characters than we've seen in the last few years. That running back room is going to be just fine. That's my opinion.
Simple thoughts, because, I'm a simple man.
Sure.
Simple thoughts. How much will the running back room benefit if you get to have your running back room healthy for 12 games?
Immensely. I think that's universal, right? If you have Ruben Owens who's healthy and he looks to be he put on weight and size to withstand the load of a running back 1, right? You still got the burst, you still got the quickness, but he had to put on some more weight to kind of handle the wear and tear. But you keep him healthy, you get Jamari Morrow in there, you got guys who can make plays. And so health is the best ability is availability.
I also feel like they forced the run at times because they believe in the run game, even when it was not necessarily working or it wasn't the best option against certain defenses.
Sure.
And I think sometimes you have to have a realistic conversation about yourself.
Sure. And I think part of that, too, what may help them is how deep, and, I think everybody and their mother has talked about Terry Bussey this week, right? But if you have 4 or 5 wide receivers that you can go 4 or 5 wide on and feel really good about, you can't load the box and play the run with that type of talent. You can't give a Mario Craven one-on-one. You can't give ABR one-on-one. If you find yourself in a situation, they're going to burn you. They're going to pick you apart. And then that forces you to roll coverage and play differently, which lightens the box, which gives, one read for Ruben Owens to hit it and find daylight. So understanding personnel, the running game, the offensive line could be different. It could be tangibly worse. But there are ways to scheme up the running game, and I think they'll find ways to do so.
A text message, not about the number one concern. By the way, anybody wants to share what's your number one, 3 in no order, kind of like we did. I'm not going to make people pick one. What's their number one concern standing between Aggie football and a return to the CFP? I didn't say win a natty. Once you get in, anything can happen. So what's your number one or 3 in no order concern between Aggie football and a return to the CFP? You can text 979-693-1150. But Cade texted and said, a drop in this year's run game O-line will equal a drop in Reed's production. Someone has to fill Moss's shoe. Play in, play out, not just flashes. No question in there, but still.
Sure, no question.
We just kind of hit that.
But arguably, I've talked about it and I've written about it. The advanced metrics tell you that Ruben Owens was just as efficient, if not slightly less efficient than Le'Veon Moss was last year. But he also was the leading carrier. He had the most touches. He had the most rushing yards. He had the most touchdowns. He's a guy who he's already carried the load. Now he's prepared for it in offseason. He's the guy. Moss was great. But they had him in so many doses, they've had to build the offense around what would it look like without Moss. So they're familiar with that look.
Well, they build it around him and then he'd get injured.
Right.
And so then you'd have an offense built for him that he's not there for.
They find themselves in a plan B situation a lot of the time. So I think they're comfortable with what this running game would look like without him.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Anybody can text 979-693-1150. This is the Louie Bellina Show. Tony Catalina on a Monday. Go figure. Hanging out with me inside the Charles Schwab studio. Support from Charles Schwab here in Bryan College Station comes from Mark Sim because he lives here. His only concern is Bryan College Station. With Schwab, you get a modern approach to wealth management. They have the financial planning to meet your specific needs and the flexibility to adapt as those needs change with time. And they will in ways you've never imagined, but for Schwab and Mark Sim, been there, done that. They've got your back. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station. This is the Louie Bellina Show, Monday on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Listen to The Zone on the Zone app.
Download the app.
Yeah. Thanks to Loyalty Plumbing. The pros at Loyalty Plumbing are ready to serve you, Aggieland.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Visit them. LoyaltyPlumbingLLC.net.
The Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Residential, commercial, industrial services. It's what they do at CC Electric. Joined inside the Charles Schwab studio, Tony Catalina, Gig 'em 247. Normally is a Wednesday thing. Ain't nothing normal when fall camp's going on. Tony needs to work. And speaking of fall camp, call it a programming service announcement. Tomorrow, 11:30 a.m., here on the Louie Bellina Show, here on the Zone, live. Did I say live? Yeah, I said live. Live. We're going to have both the coordinators because they're meeting with the media tomorrow at 11:20. Lyle Hemphill. Also, that'll be Holman Wiggins. I forget the order. I think it's Holman Wiggins first. I think they always do OCDC.
Yeah.
So I know you don't want to give away any trade secrets. Do you know what you want to ask them already? Have you already mapped it out?
I haven't really mapped it out because I'm honestly a peek behind the curtain. I'm somebody who doesn't come in with preconceived, I'm not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? I want to come in there. I want to kind of feel the vibe of what I've seen, what I'm going to see tonight. I want to ask questions. Mostly, I'm trying to figure out where they're at with personnel, right? The conversation has all been about Terry Bussey, like I mentioned. Does Holman Wiggins see it the same way?
Right, I thought it was Ashton Bethel Roman making one-handed catches and showing off.
In the spring, it was Aaron Gregory. Right now, it's Terry Bussey who's been great. No denying it. Anybody with eyeballs, like I tweeted, has seen that Terry Bussey is definitely taking a leap both physically and athletically. He's doing great. But I want to ask Holman, does he feel that same way? Hey, Holman, and then when you talk to Lau, what's Damian look like? And what is the potential of having him back early season? What's that change in the middle of that defense, schematically, right? How different is it now Where if Damien's right, what's that change in Noah McHale's role? How does that change for Jordan Lockhart? What about some of the young kids like Stone Miller or Tank King? I want to ask about the cornerback situation, where I came into this thinking pencil Ricky Gibson in on the other side of Des Ricks. Pretty much I've been told, from people I've talked to, is like, hold the horses. Julio Humphrey is going to make this a fight. And so I want to talk about that perspective because, Lyle Hemphel's a secondary coach by nature. So there's so many different personnel things I want to talk about and have in conversations. And Elko is very smart in calculating his answers. But some of these OCs and DCs, they like to just talk ball. So you might be able to talk to them in a real human way and get a real actual answer on those things.
So wait a minute. Is it Terry Bussey or is it Ashton Bethel Roman?
It's Terry Bussey.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not out there.
So Ashton made a great catch, but Terry Bussey made about 2 or 3 wow catches where I think everybody on the sideline, whether you're a high school coach or a reporter, we were just like, wow, damn. You know what I mean? That was impressive. And then, day one, he comes out and he's literally looking like Deebo Samuel physique-wise. And it's like, okay, still got the speed, looks better as a route runner, more athletic, this could be scary. And that's the part in this, too, is people think these are, slotted ideas that everyone's kind of hey, we're just going to hype it up. We come out of these practices, and most of the time people are was that as real as we thought it was? And it really was. And then you see everybody writes about the same stuff, but at least it's organic.
Yeah. Y'all aren't being handed note sheets
Nothing.
At the end of practice.
Yeah.
So when I see, 3, 5, 7 people kind of with the same storyline, that's an obvious takeaway.
For me, it was funny. I don't really care about being first when it comes to social media as much as maybe some other people do. And so by the time I got done doing what I wanted to do, the Terry Bussey conversation was already happening online. And so I came out and I said, by the way, he is doing everything that everyone's going to be saying. It's already been said. I'm just going to tell you it's real.
So you came out and said, I concur.
Basically. I'm I wasn't going to break news. I think people already had the drafts written up. By the time practice is over, I saw 3 or 4 tweets about Terry Bussey.
So was Terry Bussey the standout player of week 1?
It's hard to disagree. It's hard to.
I guess it's half week 1. It was half week.
Yeah, yeah. Through the first 3 practices, we were able to see from day 1 when you said, "Man, he looks good," and two, it's hey, he's still moving fluid. To day 3, it's wow, he's going up middle of the field, grabbing balls. It was crazy how talented. It was this is the 5-star kid that everybody saw coming, and maybe this is the breakout season. And I'm really encouraged to see where it goes from week 2 to week 3 because a lot of the times these guys either continue to rise or they fade away. You just never know. So right now, week 1, I would pencil Terry Bussey the winner. We'll see what week 2 looks like.
Well, okay. You put Horton, obviously, behind Craver. Asheville Bethel Roman broke out at the month of last year when Scary Mofo. And then if you could throw the 4 deep. And then you have the other players who are developing, and they would be the 5?
Yeah.
We're starting to talk about scary levels.
Some serious depth.
When you're that 4 deep, if this is the 5-star breakout for Bussey.
100%. ABR, this time last year, the conversations about him and his breakout started about this time last year. He had showed similar things in practice where you're hey, he scratched the surface his freshman year. He had 1 touchdown, I think, against New Mexico State. But you just felt in the spring and the fall, he was a guy who was coming. This year, it feels a lot in the same with Terry Bussey, where ABR is penciled in 1, 2, and 3. Terry Bussey's making that 3-spot feel almost interchangeable at times, right?
But remember, it still took Roman to the second half to deliver on the spring and fall promise.
And that's the part where you realize there's one football. And when KC's eating and Mario's eating and you got a running attack that's working well, Nate Borich is still making plays, there's only one football. So yes, I think we can say that a guy's taking a step, and maybe the numbers will bear out when it bears out, right? I think the breakout game, when I think about ABRs, I think Arkansas, he had a big game, and LSU, he had an amazing catch and run down the sideline. So those are the moments that, hey, we saw that in August, right? And so maybe Terry Bussey has something similar, and maybe it's more consistent.
Yeah, and you don't need 6 catches. When you have those 3 catches and it's a sneaky 56 yards, something like that, and one of them is that 18, 22-yard you know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
Make an impact with the chances you have.
And if the question about the running back room continues, You've already seen him in the running back role as a freshman. Now he's sturdy, right? And you can put him in attached from Marcel reading the shotgun. Like now you can move him around. He can be a chess piece because you know he's talented. Just get the kid the football, right? It's almost at that level now where Terry Bussey's a football player. You don't have to call him a wideout, even though he looks better. But it's get him the ball, find space, find plays.
So go back to some of his freshman packages where wide receiver in motion sweeps and all of a sudden you see him in the backfield in motion from out of the slot, things like that.
Yeah.
You could go back to some of that, and now it would actually hit. And
you're worried about the kicking game without a Casey Concepcion. Like he's an element as a kickoff specialist now, right? And as a punt returner potentially as well. Like find ways to get him the football. He's going to make plays.
I don't know how concerned I am about that.
Sure.
I know Concepcion was a bad man.
Yeah.
Never get me wrong. They just seem to have so many options, though.
They do. And so that's another one, right? If you're worried about a wide receiver 4 potentially not getting enough looks, let him out there and field the punt. Let him go out there and get the kickoff and have him take it to the house.
And package plans.
That's it. Package plays and find ways. And there's so multiple, though, with the way they deploy the wide receivers. And when you got 5 guys you feel good about, you got 6 guys you feel good about, like, you can do that. You don't have to sweat the fact that maybe Mario Craver is out for a couple plays. Maybe Isaiah Horton needs a blow on a drive. You can go out there and be fine. You can operate. Because this offense has been potent with far less talent on the outside.
So if Bussey is the one, is there a 2? It's only 3 practices. I'm not trying to, and I'm also not a pro practice guy. So Bussey's 1, is there a 2?
Man, it's a great question. If you ask different people, you probably get a different answer. But to me, I think it's Anto Saka. Like he's just so strong in the run game. They talked about it. I think I mentioned it earlier. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. The guy has
31.
Yeah, 31. He had like 8% body fat, like 255 pounds. The widest neck I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I'm not a big dude. This guy made me feel so small standing next to him and talking to him. Like, but just on the field, it translates. As a pass rusher, he's freaky, and like he's a freak list reason. It's the reason he's on that. But he's made tackles for losses. He's made nightmares for certain offensive linemen on one-on-one drills. Like he's just been so tenacious. And I wrote about it. He has like a business-like mentality about it where like this team is chirping and there's some talking and there's some fun. Anto's going to beat you and then he's turning around and he's walking away and he's not saying a word about it. Like he's just so business-like. So for me, you probably get different people, but I think Anto is being that pass rusher, that defensive lineman, that edge guy that they need, and I think he's probably be number 2.
Fair enough. And that's encouraging to hear because, okay, it doesn't have to be Saka that inherits the Sackmaster General title. But he is the natural one to look to as the next man up.
For sure.
The next first, second round NFL draft pick as an edge rusher. He's the natural one because they can just spread it out.
Yeah.
They can have 3 guys have numbers that equal the old totals versus 1 guy that goes for Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC.
And I'll tell you, 2B, if I had to pick somebody right along with him, is Marco Jones. And then you talk about 2 guys on the defensive line that have question marks. Marco Jones, we talk about the size difference of being in the Tommy Moffitt method. Massive changes in physique. He looks monstrous. And he's strong, and he's one of the leaders of the pack now. He just gets it. He looks more comfortable.
Hey, can I do the panic fan syndrome?
Sure.
So if there's 2 defensive linemen that look the best in camp, that means O-line is struggling so bad and A&M's doomed.
I would agree if it wasn't in Indy, if it wasn't in just different drills that they do. It's not necessarily he's beating people in teamwork or in one-on-ones.
Thank you for talking me down.
It's just like when you see him hit a sled or a bag and it pops different and it hits different, like you just notice it's different. And the guy is a massive human being too.
All right. I can sleep tonight. Before I wasn't going to sleep. Now I can sleep. When we return, more Tony Catalina, Gig'em 247. He joins us inside the Charles Schwab studio. Programming reminder, 1 o'clock, Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews will join us on the D4 Land Services hotline. And if you're looking for some help getting your land fixed up, maybe getting your land cleared, and heck, land excavation, you can always use some help. I want you to check out d4landservices.com. d4landservices.com. It is Monday. I have calendar reading skills. And it is the Louie Bellina Show on the Zone.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
The Louie Bellina Show.
It's awesome. Stop, listen, and look both ways.
Listen in weekdays, 11 to 2 on the Zone.
The Louie Bellina Show. Monday, lunchtime. Lunchtime's thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. Had some of the sweet. Oh, yesterday. What am I thinking? It was all of yesterday. That tells you sometimes how some weekends are longer than others. But yesterday, let's see. Oh, I got the beans, got the pork loin. I know. You're like, Lou, you said it's the home of the green chili stew. I know. I passed this time. Lunchtime on the Louie Bellini Show, Monday through Friday, noon till 1 is thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. Joined again, of course, inside the Charles Schwab studio, Tony Catalina, Gig'em 247. He's got work Wednesday, and I'm like, wait, I didn't know you worked. I just kind of see you kind of wander a lot. But Tony joins us inside the Charles Schwab studio. I wanted to hit you up with another Marcel Reed question, if that's okay with you. Okay. And ESPN.com did this insider intel for all the key quarterbacks in the college football season. Mm-hmm. And there was a weird sentence about we have doubts about Marcel Reed. And a lot of people seem to. When I boiled it down in my own head, do you know what's the only doubt? There's areas he can improve in, and gosh knows you and I have talked maybe to death, and that's what an 9-month offseason does, but the word doubt is different.
Sure.
Do you know the only doubt I have is if he can win a national championship, but only one D1 quarterback proved he could do it, and he's a Raider right now.
Right.
So that doubt, can he win a national championship, is true of every single D1. You can't tell me there's a D1 quarterback you can point to and go, I have no doubt he can.
Right.
So the doubt of Marcel, he took a historically underachieving, horrifically disappointing program, led them to their greatest comeback in their program history, won 11 games, and took them to their first CFP. Doubt?
Yeah.
Doubt? Really? Doubt. What a strong word, doubt.
I struggle with that because for me, I don't love the idea of groupthink. I'm not a contrarian, but I like having independent thought. And I think sometimes the conversation about quarterbacks in general, not just Marcel Reed, but him here specifically in this moment, is there becomes this group kind of thought about him. And when his final 2 games are against, Miami with no touchdowns and Texas where he threw 2 interceptions, the groupthink is like, oh, this is a kid who in the big moments can't get it done, but they ignore the second half of South Carolina. They ignore the game-winner drive against Notre Dame. They ignore some of the things that, like you said, he's got the monkey off the back of Texas A&M. Like, remember what we talked about a year and a half ago about A&M on the road? They just couldn't win on the road, and all of a sudden we haven't heard about that in over a year, right? He's gone out there, he's won big games. Now, are there things to work on? Undeniably.
Yeah.
What's understood doesn't have to be explained. We know there's things.
There's areas to improve.
Right.
Which I think that's true of you, that's true of me.
When you talk about a 21-year-old quarterback who is entering just his second season as a full-time starter, who was yo-yoed up and down in 2024 and finally got his chance last year and won 11 games. The word doubt, to your point, and I think you eloquently said it perfectly.
Oh, wow.
Everybody got doubts who don't have a national championship. Everybody, there's quarterbacks that they're putting on pillars that have done nothing. There's guys who they're just pure on intangibles and likability and just, the name sometimes, right? Like, you got guys who are Heisman hopefuls based on name and based on
Arch Manning last year.
Right. And talking about, look at the way they spoke about DJ Lackway last year. Look at the way they talked about Norris Sellers. Look at the way they're talking about Garris Nussmeier. The way they spoke about I actually sit here and I laugh and I chuckle because the people you love in the preseason are the people I'm going to be laughing about in 8 weeks. Because these are all the people you told me that were Heisman hopefuls, first round pick guys, and nobody got it right. Nobody got it right. So I say all that to say the word doubt seems a little disrespectful. You can say you have your reservations, right? I
actually thought it was irrelevant. Because the only doubt I have about Marcel, I doubt that of every single D1 quarterback.
Sure.
So it's irrelevant. It has no relevancy.
When I look at it, and I don't think I'm too close to this to not have an unbiased opinion on it. But when I see a kid who's gotten better every time that I've seen him hit the field, 24 to 25, you know what I mean? He has made jumps, leaps, and bounds. Then I know the work he's doing because I've talked to the people and the people he's in the room with and the conversations he's having. And then I go out there and I watch and I see the mechanics are tighter. I see the strength is there. I see the zip on the pass. I see a guy who's getting better. There's no denying that. So for me, it's one of those things where, sure, you can have your reservations, but what exactly are you doubting? Are you doubting that this kid who has been a supreme athlete his whole life is all of a sudden hit his ceiling and he can't be any better and he can't break through? All of a sudden, A&M's got the best wide receiver group that they've had in years, and all of a sudden he's going to be the reason why they're not good? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then you're talking about the offensive line play, and it's But we talk about how athletic this guy is and how he can run and break out of things. He's Houdini sometimes, and you just say, what, he all of a sudden can't do that now? So it's just the same metrics that they box him in is the same things they use to build up other people. So if you have doubts about Marcel Reed, you better have doubts about 14, 15 other quarterbacks in this conference.
1,000,000%. I'm all on board on it. Let me ask you then, with the SEC, who's the one quarterback to buy? Because I only have one.
Who's that?
Trinidad Chambliss.
That's probably my number one in the conference. And I say all I have to say. I don't think Marcel's the best quarterback in the conference. I don't think he's number 2. I think he's comfortably in that 4 to 6 range as best quarterbacks in this conference. If he finds himself as top 5 in the SEC, limits the turnovers, like we're talking about, mind you, some of his turnovers, like the second interception against Texas, that was a game that was already lost. He's trying to make plays. He's in the final drive. He throws a pick because he's trying to force things in. He goes on a stat sheet. People talk about it. It's a fodder point for people in Austin. But that was an inconsequential interception. Like, they were down. They weren't going to win that football game. But to my point is, the numbers are what they are, and then they lose meaning the further away you get from it. So the same way that we can talk about an impressive second half against South Carolina or an impressive, week 3 win against Notre Dame that can completely change the picture of the CFP, that gets forgotten because the final 2 games were in 45, mile per hour winds in Miami.
Always works that way.
And
every year.
Right.
The last game, irrelevant of the name.
Absolutely.
Let's say you do a 9-3 thing, and then you go to the bowl, not CFP, and you end up 9-4. People are going to talk about the 4.
For sure. And not to bring it way back here, but he led a game-winning drive against USC in the Las Vegas Bowl, and then they give up the touchdown at the end and they lose. The conversation changes, in my opinion, that offseason about he's viewed and how this team is viewed if they just hold on to win that game. Now, it's peanuts compared to everything they've done in 2025 and all the things we could talk about now, but you talk about one drive changing the whole complexion of how you view a season, and something like that is crazy to me. Like, they didn't get it done against Miami. 2 defenses battling it out. 1 touchdown ended up being the difference, right? And an interception at the end of the game that'll haunt him, right? That interception will haunt him. But we're going to sit here and judge the entire body of work because, mind you, 2 weeks into November, he was 1 win away in Austin from being in a seat in a chair in New York City for the Heisman Trophy conversation. That's like as real as it gets. And then obviously it changed and things happened, but we're going to sit here and try to denigrate a kid or put a kid down and say you have doubts about him. You better have doubts about everybody else.
I agree with that because, my spin take concept is no, it's not legit. The doubts. If the statement needs to be areas of improvement, because that's the valid conversation.
Sure.
And there's 3. So, and every quarterback, give me a quarterback. I'll give you the well. Give me a second to study. I'll find the areas. They all do. There's no perfect quarterback in this year. There have been years. There have been perfect quarterbacks, to be fair. But there is no perfect quarterback this year. So every player has the area to improve in. It's like, so we're talking about things that are true, like in a redundant kind of like, why are we even talking about it way at times. And with Marcel, we know that his floor can single-handedly lose a game. And at the quarterback position, that is dangerous. That is true, too.
Right. And sure, absolutely. There's some volatility there. He'd be the first person to tell you he's trying to tighten up the scope of what the variance can be. He's mentioned it.
Let's eliminate that floor.
That's it. Right. Or just raise it. Raise the floor. What's the worst you look like? And it's not anything like the first half against South Carolina. You're probably in business. Right? Like, and that's what the part of the being comfortable when you see zone.
Or the entire Miami game.
Sure,
but he never got in rhythm. Because he can't read his own defense.
But Miami's defense was a championship level defense. You know what I mean? Like, I understand what you're saying. You got to find a way to win. I don't think people realized how good Miami was until they found their way to get there. Miami was legit. That defense had NFL stars all across all 3 levels. That was a quality. And top of that, it was like 40-mile-per-hour winds, too. So couldn't kick a 22-yard field goal. It's a totally different game if you make 2 out of those 3 field goals. You know what I mean? So we can. That's all in the past.
That's true.
It's just a totally different game. But now, yes, every quarterback, hey, what do you want to improve on? Oh, I want to have better completion percentage. I want to have, turn the ball over less. I want to win the big game. Duh. Everybody in the history of football has ever said those 3 things. So if he goes and he's at 65% and he throws 9 interceptions instead of 12 and he's at 65% instead of 62 and they win in Austin or they win in Oklahoma or they win the first round of the CFP, what are you going to say? Like, it's just intangible. There's benchmarks. He knows what he has to do, and I think everyone around him understands that.
When we come back, We'll wrap up lunchtime thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. When we come back, final thoughts from Tony Catalina of Gig'em 247. It is the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, where they have free estimates and they also have military and veteran discounts. It's the Louie Bellina Show on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Spend your summer with the Zone.
Crank it up a notch.
This is great.
Where Yankee sports is a way of life.